Welcome back to Built by Becker, the April Strong Women series. I'm absolutely loving this month. I've had so many amazing women on, and today will be nothing less. My girl, Michaelah Montgomery.
Hey.
How you doing?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming all the way from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now, I get to say that because it makes me sound great that I brought you here all the way from Atlanta for the Built by Becker podcast. But in reality, I just happened to know you were going to be in Fort Lauderdale yesterday, so I snagged you on the way back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you coming here from Atlanta down to Naples, Florida, to join us on our Strong Women series. Now, I would like to know for you to share with our listeners and viewers who you are. Who you are. I want to know who you are. I did research and all that fun stuff, but I want you to tell us who you are. How old are you?
29.
I know it's 29. So you a young buck. That's
I'm still
good.
figuring out who I am.
That's okay. That's okay. Tell me a little bit about your backstory. I want to know, I want to know not the surface level, how you was raised, mom and dad, where are you from? Yes, just give me a little backstory before we go into any of these other questions.
All right. Well, I was born in Oakland, California.
Oh, wow,
I
West
actually
Coast.
ended up in foster care for 3, almost 4 years.
Okay.
Then I was adopted by a lovely family, and I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada,
Okay.
where I was raised, and I lived there until I was 18. Then I took the first flight out because, Vegas is a great place to visit, not so much to live.
Okay.
But not that it's bad or anything, it's just boring.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot.
And the
going
whole
on
time
there.
I was there, I wasn't 21, so there's really nothing you can look at other people have fun, but that's about it.
Right.
And I decided to enroll at the illustrious Clark Atlanta University.
Okay.
So I went to Atlanta for college, and I fell in love with the city of Atlanta, and I never left.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Hot Atlanta. They don't call it Hot Atlanta for nothing.
Man, everything about it is hot, right? The nightlife is hot. The job scene is hot. The food is hot. Everything is great.
I actually love Atlanta. So I lived in, what was it, right outside of Atlanta, starting with an M.
Marietta,
Georgia.
Marietta?
I lived in Marietta, Georgia for a small little time period.
It's pretty out there. I'll give you that, but it's not
nice.
Atlanta.
It's not, but it's not too far.
Not too far.
You just, boom, drive right
That's
into the
where the
city.
Braves play now. So
Yeah.
Oh,
I
guess we got to claim it to Atlanta.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Yeah, but I do love Atlanta. Atlanta's got I grew up in Illinois, right?
Mhm.
So the houses remind me in Atlanta of the same houses in Illinois, but the weather's a little bit nicer and,
Is it? Because it rains a lot in Atlanta. It rains a lot.
It does rain a lot.
Streets are always flooding. People are always getting into accidents.
People are good in Atlanta.
Well, nobody can drive in Atlanta. So actually, that's going to happen rain, sleet, or snow, actually.
That's true. But no, I liked Atlanta. It was you had all the hills and stuff. You know what I mean? There's just
it's different.
Something about Georgia and Atlanta that I like. So you found your home in Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay. And you went to school for what?
Political science.
Political science?
Yeah.
What made you want to go into political science?
I actually started off as a pre-law major. I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
But before I went to college, I took, of course, a government class my senior year of high school. And I was like, okay, well, defending the law would be great. But if I could just make the law, why don't I just go that route? Then I don't have to defend anything except on the floor. And so I was like, I'm going to switch this thing over from pre-law to political science. And after my first political class that I took was politics and global issues at Clark. And I was like, this is exactly where I need to be. Because, it just covers everything. And then, you can really take a deep dive into what you're passionate about and try to pursue, different ways to create change within that space. So I thought it was very, very beautiful, whether versus handling everything by a case-by-case basis. As a former debater, we really value utilitarianism. So if you can help more people, as many people as possible, then it's we're going to go that route versus helping one person at a time.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. What's it like being adopted?
Well, hey y'all, take care of your kids. It's I think everybody takes it differently. So for me, I guess I'm more of the enlightened type. And so I wholeheartedly believe that God was with me and God wanted me to have that experience so that I would have the empathy that I have for people. Okay. And, that's kind of where my talent of being a chameleon started, because you're trying to get all these different foster families to like you, to love you, to make you a part of their family. Yeah. So you adapt to their way of life and, in any situation. And I was in Oakland, but like I had fosters from all kinds of backgrounds, Hispanics, white people, Black people. So it's like, I just naturally learned how to adapt to different things at different times. And then again, I just felt like for me to be born into a situation where, neither of my parents were fit to take care of kids and, not really present, like it's like God clearly wanted me here for a reason. Like a lot of kids don't make it out of the situation that I was born into. Yeah. And a lot of people living in Oakland, California aren't able or just don't know that they're able to achieve their dreams in the ways that I've been blessed and able to. But I wholeheartedly believe that that's just my faith in God and believing that he wants me here for a reason. And I didn't always think that. Like it came with a lot of depression and stuff like, why doesn't my mom want me? And da-da-da-da-da, how could she choose this over me? And it was a lot. Yeah. But, that's when I think when people say that, you don't hit rock bottom, you find out that God is the rock at the bottom and you lean on him, you rest on him, you find solace in him. And I think I'm not like the perfect Christian, but like that was the only thing that made sense is like God clearly wants you here for a reason. And God has you with this big, bold personality, like for a reason. And it was always a thing where people just gravitated towards me. I've always been a little bossy. So I just always had them leadership skills, And so
a little like, bossy.
I'm grateful for the experience because I can really see how it molded me into the person I am today. However, I know you don't hear most conservatives admit that they understand how people end up where they are. It's like a pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And while that's basically what I did, I understand how people can get trapped in that mindset of thinking that they can't. Yeah. And I think that that's what really empowers me to do what I do, because I can really show people like, I am literally no different than you. Like people be like, oh my God, you're famous now. And I'm like, for real? I'm still Kayla. Like, I don't know nothing about this fame stuff. So it's like to be able to get out and, provide people with the testimony that they can relate to, that they can really resonate with, so, I think is beautiful.
Who's your adopted parents?
Glenn and Michaelah Montgomery. Okay. So it's actually funny because my adoptive mom almost died giving birth to her son. Like her and my dad are married. And so dad wanted more kids. Dad wanted like 5 of us running around. He come from a big family, so that's what he wanted. But mom wasn't about to risk dying to have another kid. So, they call the group home and they're like, hey, actually, another fun fact. My parents went to the same church as Keisha Cole's adoptive mom. Okay. So when they were considering adopting, that's actually who they talked to. And so Keisha Cole's adoptive mom is who gave my adoptive mom the information to pursue adoption. So Keisha Cole, I'm a fan for life, girl. We might be cousins. But so they were like, yeah, we want a little boy. Because by that time, my older brother was like 2 or 3. And they wanted him to have somebody to play with because they took him to the park every day, but he had to come home. And so they wanted somebody for him to play with. So they asked for a little boy. And I had a little sister, too. There was 3 of us at the time. My mom had 2 kids before us, but they were all taken. Then it was me, my little brother, and my little sister. My little sister was a baby, so they took her immediately. And then they just had me and my brother left. So when my mom calls and she's like, hey, I'm trying to get a baby boy. They're like, we got a baby boy, but he's got a sister, and we're trying not to separate him because we've already had to separate one of them. But if you insist on just having the boy, then that's all right. We'll just break them up. Yeah. She was like, no, I'll take them both. And wow. Yeah.
So are your parents Black?
Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up.
My parents are Black, but I did not grow up in the Black community. No. Like after we left Oakland, like that was about as Black as it got. I moved to Henderson, Nevada. Okay. Valley girl, Henderson Hills. I don't know nothing about a ghetto. I don't know nothing about my family is very ghetto. Like they're just some ghetto people who got some money. You know how that goes. How it looks in the movies. Pure ignorance. But it's a fun time. It's a fun time. Yeah. But it's like, dang, like they gave y'all some money. This is what we do. But I grew up really nice. I grew up nice, like had the biggest house on the block. Like I loved it. But again, I grew up in Henderson, Nevada. So like I was the only black girl in my class growing up, like 90% of the time. I never had a black teacher, black doctor, never saw black people like owning restaurants and stuff. Wow. So when I got to Atlanta and I saw that, I was difference. Like, whoa, wow. Black people this is where I need to be so I can be like them. Right. And everybody was so embracing. Like everybody really took me in. They're like, yeah, I got you. I'll show you the ropes and da-da-da-da. So loved it.
So you touched on, you said something I've never heard, and I hear a lot of cool things, right? That you got to hit rock bottom, but God is actually the rock at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I've been sober for almost 14 years now. So 13 years without alcohol and drugs in my life. Okay.
Oh, congratulations.
So you have touched on a couple things that are very important in my own personal story. And I know from that experience of being at rock bottom, that God was that rock there. I didn't realize I had to go all the way down there to receive him, but I did. And once I did, that's who I've been leaning on ever since, and my life has skyrocketed. From the time I got sober to the day right here, I've only gone up. I've never had anything that's brought me down. It's always been good, because God is my rock, but I learned through that experience I had to go all the way down there to find him. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should go all the way down as far as I did. If you can find that sooner, please do.
Please,
what I mean? Please do. So you touched on that. So being from a place where I was completely broken and had nothing and needed to rebuild my entire life. And, that's given me an opportunity to touch more people, right? To be able to affect more people, because not only am I here now with multiple businesses and family and house and all this other stuff, I've also been at the very, very bottom, homeless. Mm-hmm. Wow. downright out with nothing, so I just feel like God used me in that same situation the way he used you in your adopted situation, right? As a tool to be able to benefit more people. Now I'm able to benefit people who are successful business owners and want guidance and consulting, or I am able to help people who are homeless, struggling with alcohol and drug addiction, who just need to figure out how to get away from what they're doing, so I have the experience in both areas now. So that to me is amazing. And my wife and I are working on an adoption right now.
Really? So yes, I encourage, please adopt. Yes.
So God works with no coincidences, as we know, right? And we've been friends, whatever. So it's all good. But I didn't know this, right? So this podcast brought that out to where I could hear that today, and I got to ask personal questions. My questions weren't for the listeners; they were for me. Oh. I wanted to know. Well, once you said you were adopted, I wanted to know, hey, what was that like? What were those feelings like? Because those are things my wife and I have been asking. Mm-hmm. What's that child going to feel like? We already have a 5-year-old daughter. You know what I mean? So what's that going to look like? How's that going to work? We were all these questions. We don't have any answers, And so someone like you that's been through that.
I think a lot of foster kids want a family so bad, and I imagine if your 5-year-old is anything like you, I can only imagine how great the wife is too.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be very welcoming, because my brother, as soon as we got in the house, immediately we're playing with toys, and we're kids, and kids are so innocent. So a lot of times, you don't run into too many obstacles. Now, of course, as we got older, we started asking questions and things like that. But I didn't go through the whole acting out phase so much that some people see. There was just a lot of trauma that I had to get over. I used to always save food, because I used to never know when I was going to eat again. I was, the first time my adoptive mom met me, I was 2.5 going on 3. And my little brother was a baby. He's 6, 7 months. And, I'm changing his diapers. I'm making bottles. And my mom had never seen that before, for somebody so young. But it's I was the only person there to do it, So I think a lot of times, of course, the fear comes with uncertainty, because whenever my adoptive mom would drop me off at school, I would cry because I didn't know if she was coming back, because that's something a lot of us experience, is somebody would drop us off at school or at a therapy session and never come back.
That was it.
But once you provide that security and you reassure them that you're not going anywhere, and, they feel like family, everybody's loving on them and stuff like that, it doesn't take much, and it really changes that child's life. My mom and dad that adopted me are the only mom and dad I know. And I was old enough to remember my mom and ask about her and stuff like that. I remembered her, but
Do you know her today?
Yeah. I ended up finding her. It took 17 years. Okay. But I found her.
How was she?
I was a little disappointed. Yeah. But to me, I didn't for me, leaving, the last time I saw her, I was 5. The next time I saw her, I was like 21. And I just expected her to be, the fact that you had all these kids and the same thing kept happening to all of them. I would just expect you to be together. And the fact that she never, sought us out or anything like that, I'm like, okay, like maybe she's successful, and I had always prayed to God to keep her safe and keep her alive because I wanted to make sure that I could meet her one day. And when I met her, she didn't remember my birthday. She didn't know how old I was. I found out that she was in Vegas the year I turned 18 and when I went to prom and graduation. So she could have been there for those things. And she chose not to seek me out. And I thought that was kind of weird. And, when I met my mom, that was the age she was when she had me. And so for me to be in this headspace and just know that you got to, like, I had like 2-3 jobs at the time. I'm in college. Like, I'm doing the damn thing. So I'm like, where the hell was your head at when you were my age for all of us to have gone through this? And then now 17 years later, you don't seem like you changed very much. Yeah. And I really hated to see that. So the relationship I thought that I would have with her when I found her, we do not have. But at the same time, like.
Did that give you closure?
Yeah. Once I knew that she was alive and well,
okay, good.
That's really all I cared about, cool. And like I wanted both my moms to be at graduation. That didn't happen, but I mean, they can both come to my wedding, prayers for my adoptive mom. She's battling cancer right now. Oh, and so my prayers is she makes it through so I can make an honest woman of myself.
We gotta find. We gotta
see it, Lord.
We gotta find you the right one, or you already got one lined up.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm looking for a husband. Right? Don't worry about who's in the queue or who might know me. Listen, may the best man win. I need somebody with some fight in them.
That's right. That's right.
But like those are the only parents I know. And if you guys go down that route, like. You just don't know the amazingness that could come from that. I mean, my parents adopted me.
Right. That's right.
Hit the jackpot. So it's like
You're too much. All right. So look, people might know your name, and they might know a glimpse of your fame, right? But what don't they know about you?
They don't know that I literally don't see myself as famous. They don't know that I'm just Kayla, and like I really have a love for helping people, which of course brings me back to my adoption journey. It's just like I know how bad it could have been. I'm blessed to be where I am, and I would love to help people see that they're here for a reason. And that's just always been where my heart is. That's why you guys see me talking about the stuff I talk about. Like when it comes to the abortion conversation, it's like I don't get why you would do that, because I was born into a situation in which a lot of people would have advised my mom to abort, Right. She probably should have, but she didn't. And look at me. So I'm just like, you don't know the capability of what could come from you, And it's like, to me, if you truly, even if you're not, again, the perfect Christian, because I'm not either, but I just believed that God would see me through it. And that if I listen to him, I'd be all right.
He'll bring you through it.
Hello, and I prayed every day, and I'm like, God, you have to show me something, because I don't know what I'm about to do. I have no business having a baby, and my life has just been so like amazing, like ups and downs, of course, but the trajectory is way more advanced, I guess, than I imagined what it would be at this time in my life. Like I didn't think the world would know my name before I was 30. Thought I was going to be 35. I didn't think my child would be this young when I was doing all this. I thought she'd be 10 and could stay at home and watch herself, but no.
So you have a baby?
I have a little 5-year-old.
Oh, same age as mine.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-year-old. Okay. What's her name?
Amaya.
Yeah. Like it. Okay, so we have Amaya. That's great. What's something that people would, if they were thinking of you, would assume would be completely wrong? Like what?
That I'm mean or unapproachable. I guess because I'm tall, I'm pretty intimidating, and people everywhere I go to events, they're like scared to walk up to me, and I'm like, I don't know what person you've met before, but like I got a couple thousand followers on Instagram. Okay, that's not equating to like dollars in the bank account or like superstar stat. Like I don't have security or nothing around me. Like you can come talk to me. Like, I'm still Kayla.
Yeah.
So I noticed that a lot of people think that, like,
timid.
They can't come up and talk to me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, please do. I would love to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on? So
Well, that's how we continue to grow and network, is by communication with other people, you know? So yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people think I played sports. Only thing I've ever run is my mouth. But
oh man, we know that. We know
but
that.
yeah, they're like, yeah, you play basketball? No. Did you model? No. Debate team. All-star. Listen,
you're definitely
my pride and joy.
Definitely an all-star debater. That's for sure. That's for sure. What drives you?
My kid. I mean, if I didn't have her, I really wouldn't know what it is, because politics is dirty, messy, disgusting, deplorable, awful, demonic. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? But I have a daughter, and I just want the world to be a better place than it was when I got here. I think that should be everybody's mission, to do something to improve the conditions of something than how it was when you got here.
Create a legacy and create it and make a difference.
Yes,
right?
yes. So it's like
all be striving for that.
That's what we should all strive for. I don't understand how people are cool with just being born and living and working, and yeah, you have all these experiences, but then when you die, like, that's just it. So y'all don't want no kids to carry on your legacy. You guys don't want to do something so monumental that streets and historic buildings are named after you. Like, you guys literally are just cool with, being selfish. Right. And I just think that's so crazy to me. That's so crazy to me.
What would you want to do if you could create your dream job?
Be a senator that actually passes bills. I would love that. I would love that. But honestly, like, in a perfect world, I'd be a debate coach.
Really?
But I'd be making like 6 figures. So that's not going to happen. So, you gotta figure out something. You gotta have a way to make money, and then you want a debate coach on the side as a hobby. That is like something, like, when I retire, that's probably what I'll go do, is I'll find some high school with the debate team, and I'll be like, I'm going to get you guys to nationals.
Right.
I don't care. Look, start with me now.
That's a passion of yours.
Oh my God. Because I just feel like, aside from, of course, my walk with God that made me empathetic and compassionate, my debate journey is the reason why I'm so articulate. And I've always been very quick on my feet, but debate really taught me how to remain calm in certain situations. Debate is even the reason why I was exposed to conservatism, because I wasn't opposed to learning information from the other side. In order to be a great debater, you have to be able to debate what you believe in and what you don't believe in equally as good.
Wow.
Because when that coin toss happens before a round, you don't know if you're arguing the affirmative or negative. You can't only be comfortable on one side. That's not how you become a nationally ranked debater. So it's like, when I...
So hold on, back that up. Tell me about that, right? Because that's not in my research.
Oh, baby, I got rank, okay? So back when the real NFL, which is the National Forensics League, don't know anything about you athletes running around and stuff like that, but yeah, I was nationally ranked all through high school. I was really that girl.
So you traveled around and did debate team, and you did debate.
Well, you didn't have to travel.
Competitions,
you did competitions throughout your state, and then you go to nationals.
Oh.
Or if you win, like, they would have this event called the IOTCs. Don't remember what the IO stand for, but the TCs was Tournament of Champions, and I won that. And you get to compete on a national level.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like, debate was amazing. And it's just like you're just more confident because you can think through things and analyze them. It just teaches you everything about how you interact with people and go about the world will be different if you spend a year or two in debate class. Like, it prepared me for everything in life. Even if I went to an interview and I don't know about the job.
Yeah.
I'm a great debater. I'm going to impromptu speech this my way through, and it's going to be great. I'm going to hurry up and do some research real quick, scan it through. I get 3 fun facts about the company, and watch me ace this.
Right.
And so debate, I think we'd see a higher success rate in kids pursuing.
See, with higher education, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. With lower education, I call that bullshitting. I'm pretty good at bullshitting my way through most situations.
Yeah.
That's how it's got me to where I am, right? That's because I don't have the higher education. But I didn't know that about debate. And hearing that, it's like, made me think, like, man, I wish I would have taken some class on debate.
Get
like
your
that.
Kids in there, man.
Yeah,
like,
man.
That's
like,
how I'm navigating. I don't know nothing about
listen
this.
and I'm watching how your brain flips through different things and goes through, and also seeing you in the public eye, how you've been able to do the same thing. It's a great tool. It's a great tool.
When I gave that speech, a lot of people were so surprised, like, where'd you learn to do that? And I'm like, baby, speech and debate, all right? I got trophies for shit like this. Like, yeah, so I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I encourage every parent to put their child in debate. They're going to get better at arguing with you when they come home. But the life skills that they gain from there, I will forever be in love with Coach Vaughn. Love you, Miss Karen, because she definitely saw the light. She was like, you're going to be a star. And ended up coaching me right to stardom.
That's awesome. Now, I found something called Conserve the Culture.
Yeah, that's me.
What's that?
So Conserve the Culture started off as just a resource. So again, like I said, I was working 3 jobs through college. So I didn't get to join any organizations or do any of the fun stuff because I was always at work. And so I wanted to, and I had 3 jobs because nobody could really accommodate my schedule. Like I'd be on the schedule for like 1 day each job, or maybe 2 days each job. So it kind of sucked. So I wanted to create something where once I learned about all the canvassing and grassroots stuff, I was like, that's how I got my start. And I would just start inviting people to come with me. And then so they started coming with me and I'm like, okay, well, I can pay people a decent wage. I can work with their schedule. I can organize the transportation. This would be great if more kids knew about it because then, now you have the freedom to join an organization or do whatever it is you want to do because you have this flexible job that works with you. And so Conserve the Culture was literally born through that. I started doing it. I started in 2017 for a local mayoral campaign in Atlanta. And I would just go to class. And since I was a poli-sci major, I would tell people, hey, I'm about to go help this mayor out real quick. They're going to pay us the same day. And you guys can come walk with me to my little off-campus house, and they'll pick us all up. And everybody's like, hell yeah, Kayla, we coming with you. Yeah. And so then, to the consultants who I didn't know that's what they were back then, but now I know. To the consultants, they're like, wow, every time I call you, if I need 10 people, you got them. 15 people, you got them. 20 people, you got them. And I mean, like, it was nothing around them up. These are broke college kids. Like, yeah, you get the opportunity to leave class, go to somebody's house, chill for a second, get picked up, go pass out some flyers, come back, you get $75 and you go home. Like, oh, yes. It seemed like a lick. Them money. Kids came in the droves. And then so once I left the university, COVID, oh, so sad. But I ended up getting another contract with this lady named Miss CJ, and she had a big contract with Trump. Okay. And so we were passing out Trump flyers in 2020. And I was actually surprised at how many people still came out and did it because COVID affected so many folks. So she was the one who was like, you're going to need to make a business out of this and keep track of everything and da-da-da-da. And so I tried to come up with a name. And then the guy I was dating at the time happened. I was like, I want to do something that's like, in touch with the culture, but I want it to be, kind of Republican. I kind of want them to know the way I'm leaning, but it sound cool. And he was like, how about Conserve the Culture? And I was like, you know what? I like that. Shout outs to him, never again, but shout outs to you for the business name. And Conserve the Culture was born from there. And then from there, I just always, I would come back to campus sometimes and just tell kids I had this, or people who had worked with me would tell other people who were on campus, like word of mouth went by fast. And then I created a little group chat on GroupMe, and I would just tell them, hey, I got this campaign going. Can you guys, who can work on what day? The time is, 10 to 2 or 4 to 8. And I'll pick you up at the library and drop you back off at the library. Them kids loved it. Yeah. They loved it. And so when I got the call, like, hey, Trump's going to be at Chick-fil-A tomorrow. You coming? I'm like, what? Well, I wasn't told it was Chick-fil-A. I was told it was a restaurant. And so I'm like, oh, it's some meet and greet at a restaurant? Like, what's he doing? Okay, let's go. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a speaking engagement, da-da-da-da. And then so my homegirl was like, do you know anybody else that would want to go? And I was like, shoot, let me ask my kids. So I go to my little group chat and I'm like, any of y'all want to meet Trump? They're like, what? And they had met RFK before. They had met Asha Hutchinson. The guy out of, I think it was Arkansas, who was running for president. He got out pretty early. Yeah. But of course, they never met any Democrats because they never show up. But they did meet, some local ones. They never met Kamala. They never met Joe. But I mean, like, they did meet like the mayor of Atlanta, Andre. They met, a couple of commissioners, city council members. So I had exposed them to the entire world of politics. I just wanted them to be informed. Yeah. So when I told them they had the opportunity to meet Trump, nobody saw it as, oh, she's trying to lead us into the cult. Like, they were just like, whoa, Kayla, you're going to have us meet Trump? Like, ooh. And it's like, the man can change your life. Y'all better come meet this man. Like, I'm hearing this a meet and greet. We going to get pictures. Let's go. And then so the next morning, I'm like, where's this restaurant at? And it was the Chick-fil-A right by campus. But I'm telling my kids, because I had them all meet up at the library thinking I was going to have to call a whole fleet of cars to take them to some restaurant. That man went down the street. So then all my kids walked over there. I, got myself over there and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then when that motorcade pulled up, you saw everybody's eyes light up. They're like, oh, and then he walked in and everybody rushed to him. Like it was great. It was great. It was great. So Conserve the Culture grew into something that I would have never imagined. Conserve the Culture is the reason why I met the president. And I am forever grateful for my little baby CTC.
Wow. That is a heck of a story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to try to go this whole podcast without even talking about Chick-fil-A because I'm sure that's all people ask you. Yeah. And I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to just talk to you about you and talk about how it is being a strong Black woman and just being a strong woman and being, just in today's society. Mm-hmm. But, you brought it up, so we can talk about it, which is fine, one of the questions I did have, let's see here. How did that define you or not define you, meeting Trump like that and being involved in that? Obviously, it kind of blew up and, you got to be the famous Michaelah.
So for me,
Chick-fil-A, but
I guess it changed people's definition of me, people who weren't in my immediate circle. But for me as a person, it didn't change my definition of myself. It more so changed my perspective of the world. Because when I was at Clark back in 2017, I had took an internship with the GAGOP. I needed to graduate. And they were like, hey, we had internships. So I'm like, I'm coming. Right. And like I said, with my background in debate, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know too much about y'all. I've heard horrible things about y'all, but I'm going to come see for myself, Yeah. Because why not? And I'm in politics. So, I'm going to have to deal with you guys at some point. So, why not?
So, were you a Democrat at that point?
I was always a registered independent.
Independent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you just...
Yeah, because even before taking the internship, I was on this, I hate to use the word woke because it's turned into something awful. But just really looking into the civil rights movement and what that was and the different leaders that Black people had. I wondered how Black people got to where they were or where they are now, because the world that my parents came from, I was adopted by older people. My parents are in their 60s. Well, I mean, for me being in my 20s, that's pretty old, But, so, they were older. They had different expectations for us versus, these younger parents. And so I always wondered how we went from dressing in suits and these beautiful gowns and everybody looking so respectful to sagging the pants and killing each other and doing all this, all this stuff. And it's Black media used to highlight that and, really used to make people feel some type of way about where Black culture was going. And then I noticed that starting to fade out because Obama came in and every Black person acted like all of a sudden all of our problems were solved. Even though, Obama being from Chicago still has one of the highest crime rates in America, So it's we saw that being Black and getting elected was possible, but I need you to be Black and efficient. I need you to be Black and proactive. I don't need you to just be Black and symbolic. Yeah. And so I noticed early on how bad the Democrats were. I was like, y'all aren't the greatest of folks, So if Republicans are like, hey, come over here, see what we got going on, I'm not going to tell you no, because I know that the KKK started with y'all. I know that when the Civil War happened, it was you Democrats who didn't want us, to gain our freedom. I know it was y'all who was filibustering all the civil rights legislation. I know that the only reason why we got the right to vote was to trick people into believing that the Democratic Party was for them, which is why they had Martin Luther King there at the signing of it. That was our big Black prominent figure. He was the one that everybody followed. He's here basically endorsing this candidate who's signing this piece of legislation. So now you just saw the shift then where all Black people were like, these are the people who care about us. And they just never got out of that mindset. But I was studying the effects of welfare and how, that destroyed the family, and I was studying how abortion rates are keeping the Black population from growing. So this is all before I got to the Republicans. So for somebody to tell me that Republicans were racist, I'd be like, well, I've never met a racist one. Most of the people I grew up with were Republicans. I grew up with people who had money. What? They're not out here just giving handouts to everybody. They're going to teach you how to work for it. They're out here teaching people to fish. Yeah. They're not just feeding them the fish. And so I never saw anything wrong with taking a peek over there. And then I go over there and I'm like, school choice, I rock with that. Abortion, I don't really care for that. I don't know any other country where migrants can just go in, like, and this is before I even had my passport. Now I be traveling. I know for a fact you can't just walk in any other country when you want to. Like, you got to wait in that long ass line. You got to tell them where you're going, where you're staying, how long you're here, who you know over here. Do you plan on getting any produce? Like, what? Like, huh? But in America, they just want you to waltz right in there. Like, that was insane to me. And then, once you start to understand the economy and fiscal responsibility, like, you're in college, so you have to like really take care of yourself. And so it's like, how could you continue to support a party who literally will have you, donating to their cause, and then they're giving stuff away to people who need them? Like, half of my friends in college were starving. They deserve food stamps, but we're giving it to people who've made irresponsible decisions, and you want me to keep going for that? Why is Section 8 something that can be passed down from family member to family member? I saw plenty of people who could have benefited from subsidized housing, but they weren't able to get it because the wait list is 5 years long. That was crazy to me. So yeah, I want to see what the Republicans are talking about. And I loved it. And they embraced me so well. And they're just like, immediately Janelle King was like, I'll take you here, I'll take you here, I'll take you here. Let's do this, teaching me how to dress, teaching me how to talk, teaching me how to, network. Like, it was beautiful. And I had worked at Democratic campaigns before this. My mayoral campaign was for a Democrat. And it's like, we helped her get elected. I saw her all the time, and I heard all the promises she was making. I'm going to put school first. That was a big thing. When Keisha, you know what? Let me say it, because she thinks she's finna be governor. When Keisha Lance Bottoms got in as Atlanta mayor, we had 90% illiteracy rate for APS students. When she left, it was 92%. 92% of kids coming out of Atlanta public schools cannot read at grade level. 92%. And so to watch her get up here and say she was going to do this and she was going to do that and she was going to do that, and then she didn't do it. And again, I'm studying politics at the time. I'm taking urban politics. I'm taking electoral politics. So we're actually studying everything that's changing in Atlanta, and I'm just like, this is everything she said she wouldn't do.
So you're like an actual fact checker.
Yeah.
You're like an actual.
I'm a debater, baby. You gotta be. So it's like, I just couldn't believe it. So I'm like, okay. And then, went ahead and phased out of the internship, but kept close relationships with, everybody I had met along the way. And it's just, everything just made more sense to me. And then, of course, all of a sudden the Democratic Party really started wilding out, because then all of a sudden now it's like, yeah, let's transition kids, and everything and everybody is gay. And like, then all of a sudden all the pronouns came out. And what really messed me up is I was tutoring some debaters out of a school in Kansas City, Missouri. I wish I could remember the name of it. Sorry. But my friend Kara went to this school, and these kids had made it to national. So we were like chaperones and helping them prepare to compete when they went to the tournament. And the kids are telling me like, yeah, I'm asexual, I'm pansexual, I'm this. And I'm like, what you know about a sexual? You're 12.
Yeah.
And, they all had stories of like cutting themselves. And I'm like, what's going on here? And it's like, I just don't know who I am. And I'm like, what? You're a kid. Like, what do you mean you don't know who you are? And it's like, people think that giving all these genders and all of these pronouns and stuff is helping people find a space. It's confusing these kids, and they feel pressured to identify as something,
right.
And they feel like
just being
feel like nothing because they can't identify as something, and they're not being kids, and they're cutting themselves, and they're worried about a sexual preference in middle school. Like, this is insanity to me, and I was like, this is that Democratic bullshit. Like, you don't hear none of that on the conservative side. Nobody's encouraging that. You're either a boy or a girl, and you're not worried about sex right now. You're worried about learning, reading, writing, arithmetic.
Right.
You're worried about sex when you find your person, you get married, da-da-da-da. All of that other stuff was only being encouraged by liberals. And I just thought it was insane. And then this is around the time, too, that Kamala Harris would come to campus, Stacey Abrams would come to campus, and all they ever talked about was abortion. And I'm like, y'all are Black women talking to large groups of other Black women, and the only thing you need to tell them is don't have no kids. And then now we're wondering why you see a lot of Black women not getting along with not even just Black men, with anybody, because like they're just so hyper independent, because our leaders are all telling us that we don't need anybody. And now we're going out into the world acting as if we don't need anybody. I hate to be the one to tell y'all, but people were created to coexist.
That's right.
Everybody needs somebody. And so the gender wars that we see now, I saw the start of it.
Work better, our
yes,
chemicals
you live longer when you have somebody.
Exactly.
And I just thought that was so destructive and so disgusting. And it went back to my research about the welfare thing and how they enacted all these different policies to make Black women, you know, mostly, but a lot of women feel like they didn't need anybody. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And maybe, you know, it's the little foster baby in me who always wanted to be loved. So I'm like, everybody needs somebody. But even as somebody who had a perfect life, like your parent, if you had a perfect life, that means you had both parents in the home. Everybody needs somebody.
Look, I had both parents in my home, and I didn't have a perfect life. So,
I'm saying in the optimal world, you know, a perfect life
there's
is
no such thing as a perfect life. You have to learn this thing through your individual experience. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But everybody needs somebody.
Everybody needs somebody. We're created to be with somebody. You know, biblically, we're definitely created.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think the most surprising part of your journey has been so far? What's
how my life changed overnight? Like I never thought that small interaction at a Chick-fil-A would catapult me into rooms that I would have never imagined being in. I would have never thought that me giving a quirky little speech like I did all those years in speech and debate on a stage that I didn't know was national at the time. I'm like, we're just here at a rally. I didn't know that it was, you know, broadcasted on every news network and stuff like that. I had no idea. And I'm like, I'm just being myself. Like, this is how I feel. This is the way I'm kicking it to my homegirls so that they can vote the right way.
Anybody watching or listening can see that you're passionate about this, right? Yeah. You're passionate. Not only are you passionate about, because there's a lot of people that are passionate that can't spit the facts. Mm-hmm. And to me, what is attractive about the way you're presenting yourself is that you are sharing facts. Not only your opinion, your belief system, your morals, and all those things that are very important, right? But you're also coupling them with facts. This is what's this. This is what's that. From your community, from your culture, from your experience, how it's been portrayed or neglected. You know what I mean? And so you're passionate, but you're grounded in facts. Like, that to me is awesome, because a lot of people get up there and shout and holler and say a lot of crap, but they don't back it with anything. Like, I'm willing to listen to any side as long as you can present me some sort of facts, some sort of information to couple your argument. You know what I mean? You can't just make an argument. Anyone can just scream. You know what I mean? But you got to have some sort of meat. You know what I mean? Yes. To chew on.
That's some speech and debate, claim, warrant, and impact. Yeah. I can tell you how I feel. This is the claim I make. The warrant is the supporting information, the facts. The impact is why it matters to me.
Right.
And so it's like, that's just how you present it. And it's like, I did not know that just being myself would get me here.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. What lessons do you hope your daughter will learn from life or your own journey?
That she is good enough.
She's definitely good enough.
That is the one thing I battled with for a very, very long time. It's just feeling like I wasn't good enough, you know? And of course, it starts with the abandonment issues, like, you know, Mom. And so just while your story might not be as perfect as, you know, you would like it, and while you might not live a life like some other people, or you might, you know, because you're always going to grow up and see a friend and be like, oh, I wish I was like this, or oh, I wish I was like that. But please understand that you are special and you are good enough. You're great, actually. Fantastic, fabulous, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Just like you are.
I don't ever want her to feel like she's not good enough, because that is what opens the door for settling for less. And that is the one thing that I did a lot. Again, so I ended up a single mom. But I wouldn't want that for her.
So you're a believer, right? We've talked about this.
Yes.
Right. So it was funny. I was listening to a sermon the other day and was talking about how young that the enemy starts to come at us, right? And I didn't even think about that. I just, because I went to Catholic school when I was young, and then I kind of drifted off and did all my craziness, and then I found, you know, this relationship with God after I got sober. I just didn't really, it just wasn't a conversation or a thought process that I had, but like, you know, it made sense when I heard it during this sermon. Like, the enemy's coming after you even when you're young, you know, like real young, and it's starting to tell you those lies, you know. And I've seen it in certain experiences where, you know, and one of them is a small one. Is like, my daughter has super curly hair, you know, and she was like 3 years old. Her best friend had straight hair, you know. It's like, oh, I want straight hair, straighten my hair, you know. And it's like, right there, there's nothing that child has been exposed to in the world, right? And this is when the sermon hit me. She's had nothing but love. She's in a great family. She's had everything she's ever wanted, right? So nothing in this point of her life would she need to think that she's less than, right? But just the fact that someone else had something different, right? And that to me is where I saw the enemy was his first opportunity to plant a seed.
And I think that that's why what the Democrats are doing is demonic, because they're coming straight for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw it firsthand with those kids at that national debate tournament. And you see it even more so like in Atlanta. You know, we're a very pride-friendly city. Yeah. And they have kids out there at these parades, and the kids are in Speedos. Or the kids are walking next to grown men in Speedos on leashes. And like kids don't need to be exposed to that.
So that
to see these different themes on TV and in their cartoons. Like, that is, you know, the demon of confusion entering their life, you know? And yes, the enemy will start young. And I think
Oh,
hi. I'm fabulous. And so, yeah, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. Yeah. And I think that they know the enemy starts young. And I think they are exploiting that fact. I think they're building on that fact. I think they're ushering it in to even some kids who might not have been exposed to certain things just as early. You know, because I mean, growing up, we knew a bunch of sheltered kids where we're like, what do you mean you don't know about this? What do you mean you don't know about that?
Yeah, man.
It's a lot harder to shelter kids now.
I know. When I was younger, I mean, we knew there was some weirdos or not even weirdos. That's probably the wrong word. Don't take offense to that. People who did different stuff than the normal, right? People who were doing different stuff than the normal. And it was like, okay, it's cool. I know that they exist and they do this stuff over here. Mm-hmm. And I've never been judgmental of that. Cool. I'm all good with that, you know? And then as I got older and I found out some of my friends that, you know, they went that direction. Cool. I support you, right? But then it was when it was forced into our streets, into our media, into our cartoons. It's like, whoa. Hold on. I didn't say it was okay for my daughter to watch this. I didn't say it was okay for, you know what I mean? Now you're forcing me. Like, that's when it's like, wait a second. I was already cool with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Now I'm not cool because once you tell me I have to do something, I'm immediately on the defensive. You know,
and it's like, how could you disrespect, you know, if you're a believer, how could you disrespect my religion like that?
Right.
You know,
I'm supposed to accept you, but you can't accept me for my beliefs. Mm-hmm. That's when it started to be an issue. You know, it's like, none of this is lining up.
When people started suing pastors for refusing to marry same-sex couples in their churches, I was like, you guys have literally lost it. Like, how dare you tell somebody to go against the word that they preach to people every week? Yeah. That is disgusting. Just go to the courthouse where nobody cares. Right. Like, but you insist on having a traditional wedding and a non-traditional lifestyle. You can't have your cake and eat it too, baby, you know? Just like this last election cycle, we had pastors preaching that abortion was okay, that, you know, every woman should have a choice. Why would you tell your congregation that? You are literally supposed to be leading people to the Lord. You're supposed to teach them how to live Christ-like. Christ is not out here aborting babies. Like that's not us. And yet you're here telling these women that it's okay to do that. That's not okay. And I think that, you know, that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of people leaving the church, because it's just a lot of hypocrisy going on. You can't read this but also allow this in the church. Like, the church used to hold its members accountable. The church really used to be a community staple that was integral to, you know, improving the quality of life within that area. Now the church is like, oh, that's okay. God still loves you. And it's like, Christianity isn't supposed to be comfortable. You know, getting into heaven is hard. Yeah. Very, very, very hard. So nothing about it is supposed to like, oh, I'm going to just live comfortably. And, you know, God knows my heart. It's like, you're either going to really be about that Christ-like life and really strip yourself of all the things that you know are wrong and preach that this is wrong to other people and help spread the gospel to all four corners, or you're going to live in sin. And like, you should not be in a church preaching that it's okay to live in sin. And again, I'm not the perfect Christian, y'all.
And none of us
like,
are.
as a pastor, you have an obligation to do right by your congregation. And I don't see that anymore.
Exactly. So where do you turn for strength and clarity when you're struggling?
Oh, I definitely still go to the Lord. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like, and it's like, it's crazy because like, I have friends who can hear him clearly. I don't hear him, but God, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that God is, you know, he'll be like, there's your confirmation, you know? And so like, I just start paying attention to the way things in my life are going after I have a conversation with him. But I mean, a lot of my life was spent like alone. Like, I had two brothers, so they weren't trying to kick it with their sisters. They were trying to kick it with each other. So like, I had nobody to go to but God, like, my entire life. So it's like, things didn't get different because I got older. It's like, you know, and then especially now as an older woman, you know, now in my auntie era, I can go and I can call all my homegirls and tell them my problem, but all 5 homegirls are going to have 5 different opinions. Yeah. And then 2 of them are going to piss me off with theirs. God ain't never did that. So I'm going to just stick to what I know, because trying to go to people, honestly, sometimes leave you in a worse off position than you were when you confided in them.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. What's your coolest Trump experience?
Our dinner at Mar-A-Lago.
Yeah?
That was the coolest. That was the most monumental, impactful, historic, iconic, legendary. Like, it was everything, because the one thing that all my students said when they left was, I wish people could see him the way we got to experience him tonight, because then everybody would love him. He is funny. He is patient. He is very attentive. He is so cool. And then to just know that he was the president and now he is the president again, that was so dope to be in a room like that. Yeah. And Mar-a-Lago is such an iconic place, great. That so many people want to go to but never get the experience. And yet here all of us were, and he didn't know us from a can of paint. Yeah. And yet here we are eating Wagyu, sea bass, all of that. And he's just telling us, Don King used to come here all the time. And me and Muhammad Ali. And it's like, bro, you did what?
Everybody.
An amazing life. Yes, just full of stories, full of wisdom. Everything was incredible. I honestly can't wait to do it again at the White House.
Yeah, we need to set something up like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's time to reconvene with Mr. President Trump.
Let's talk about this executive order, Mr. President. I'm ready.
So yeah, no, that is awesome. I've had the experience of being at Mar-a-Lago myself. It's absolutely beautiful, and to see him in his presence, he is amazing. But the thing you said is what everyone who I've asked who's met him has said, is that the person that you see on TV is not the same person that you see in person. The person that you see in person and the person that you talk to in person is compassionate and understanding. Not that he's not, because I already firm believer that he is, but the fact that he just sits and talks to you and he listens and he wants to know what you feel about that certain thing, or he takes the time to really invest in whatever it is. If it's 3 minutes with that person or 30 minutes with that person, that he actually cares. And to be able to do that when you're that important of a person, that busy of a person, to me is a serious gift. And then who was the comedian? It was Bill Maher that just went and had a meeting with him. And that was his exact words. Super Democratic, liberal-leaning comedian said on his show, I wish everyone could have the experience with Donald Trump that I just had, because of the person that is on TV or says certain things is not the guy that I just had dinner with or whatever their meeting was. And so it's not just them. It's not just you. It's not just the other person. It's not the people that I talk to. Everybody says this about the man.
My kids even said they always try to make him look orange. He's not even orange in person.
No, he's not. He's not.
So yes, it's they really distort his image to a point where not only is he unrecognizable, but those aren't the characteristics of the man that you would sit across from if you ever get the opportunity to sit across from him. He's literally incredible. They love to tell you that because he's rich, he doesn't care about you. Yet, much like you just said, if you only have 3 minutes with him, you have his full attention for all 3 minutes.
Not only that, I've seen him, and he knows the names of everybody that works at his home or his hotels, and he cares. He's a person that genuinely cares. So that, to me, it's great that you shared that experience, because it's nice to validate things that you hear from multiple people. It just kind of really sets that in. What is the best advice that you've ever been given?
That is a great question, because you know what? I don't know.
I don't know if I would know right now.
I think the best thing that anybody's ever told me, something that's been consistent throughout my life, is don't ever change.
I like that.
And it worked out for me.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't ever change, being steadfast in your faith. Don't ever change being, personable. Don't ever change being, compassionate. Don't ever change being loud. And I didn't. And it got me in all the spaces that a lot of people would have advised that it wouldn't.
Just being you.
Yes.
Just being you, right? Just be you. That's probably the best advice I think I've ever been given after hearing that, And if I could look back, just be you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Remove all the crap.
Things work out better that way. Yeah, you can filter out your real friends that way, Just be you.
Just be you. What's one thing you used to believe in that you don't believe anymore?
I used to believe that everybody in politics really did want to change the world.
Oh, I've learned that that too.
I used to believe that everybody was in it to help people. And honestly, my experience in my high school government class, where I met the first ever Black person ever, at the time I felt like on earth, who didn't like Obama. And this is around the time also when Gaddafi was assassinated. Doing a deep dive into that also is one of the things that really opened my eyes to the fact that the people who we think are for us are not always for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to believe that things like when Black Lives Matter first happened, I was like, I can see why you guys say this. All right. But then to see that nothing came from it.
Yeah.
And to see that it actually destroyed the communities that they swore they cared about.
Yeah.
To see that none of the victims' families or whoever the martyr was for the march, they didn't get their funeral expenses covered. The siblings weren't given scholarships to go to school. Like, they didn't host community cleanups or do a day of feeding the homeless. Like, to study groups like the Black Panthers and then see Black Lives Matter come up and them try to create this facade that they're the new age version of the Black Panthers, but really see that they're doing more destruction than they are building up. I was like, yo, what the hell is this? You know? And again, the Obama years, going back and when I was born in Oakland, it was known as Cokeland. So learning about, the crack cocaine era and how all of this happened, is like, even when it comes to drug dealing, how much do you love money to where you'll destroy your entire community? Like crack, once people started to see what crack was doing, they should have stopped selling the crack. But it's like, you love the idea of getting money so much more. And then our drug dealers changed, because back when people were moving pure cocaine, they were hosting turkey giveaways. They were paying the rents of single mothers. They were buying all the medicine and groceries for the elderly woman who lived down the street. Like, you might not have been doing something that was favorable in most people's eyes, but you always made sure to give back because you knew you were blessed to even be able to move like that. All of a sudden, crack came and people got selfish. Yeah. And now they're killing each other for street corners that aren't named after anybody in their family. Yeah. And it's like, how could you allow yourself, somebody, you look just like the person you're selling dope to, and you watch them turn into something awful, selling crack to pregnant women. Like, I'm just like, oh my God. And then getting into politics, I got in all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm going to change the world. And then you realize that a lot of people aren't here to do that, and there's a lot of money in manipulating people.
A lot of people don't want change.
They don't.
This is the thing. They want
and
comfortability.
That's something I believe too. I thought
routine.
Everybody wanted to do better.
If you actually offer change to people, they don't want that. This is a prime example right now. Hey, Elon Musk is showing that we're spending billions of dollars, not just millions, billions of dollars wasted away on stuff, and people are mad at him for that. That, and his point is right there. They don't want change. They don't want it. They want blinders. They want to feel good, go to work every day, and not really know what's going on. Feed me fake news. Really, I think is what is the reality of a lot of people don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know that we live in a very imperfect world, and there's just a small portion of people that are really trying to keep things good, while a larger portion of people are trying to mess things up. And that's sad and unfortunate.
That was definitely the saddest realization I ever had to come to was, oh my gosh, like, these folks see that there's a lot of money in manipulation. There's a lot of money in misleading people. There's a lot of money in misusing resources. And they would rather go for that than to actually help the people they were elected to represent.
All right, last question. We're going to end with this. We already touched on it a little bit. Talked about legacy. How do you want to be remembered?
As that... No, I'm playing. I want to be remembered as the girl who stood on what she believed in and inspired a new generation of young people, old people, anybody to do the same. Again, the best advice that both of us can say we've gotten is to just be you. I am nobody but myself. And I would hope that my story, can inspire more people to really just be who they are. We have a lot more conservatives than people readily identify as. But there's so many women are so scared to say they don't believe in abortion because you have all these abortion annies screaming, kill the children, like forcing it down their throats. You have a lot of people who don't believe in same-sex couples being married in the church, but they don't want to speak out about it because, you know, they don't want to get the LGBTQ folks all up in arms about them. You have a lot of people who don't like the transitioning of children. A lot of the Democrats that I talk to, I be like, so how is you as a grown man gonna stand for this? And they're like, oh, we're not all like that. And I'm like, okay, but when it comes up in the news, I don't see you fighting against it. Like, I don't see like a group of Democrats leading the charge against mutilating children. Like, all of you guys collectively have come together and said, we're just gonna let this happen, you know? And so I would hope that people understood that confidence is like, golly, one of the best qualities you could have. Like, the worst thing anybody could ever tell you is no. And then, like, I don't believe there's anything called embarrassing. I think you're just legendary. Like, you might have an embarrassing moment, but if nobody ever forgot it, guess what? Your name will be in the mouths of people in rooms that you've never even thought to be in. So it's like, okay, like, it wasn't embarrassing. It was memorable. So, like, you know, like the whole Chick-fil-A thing, like, my hair wasn't done and none of that stuff. And I'm like, oh, Lord, I wish I looked better. But then it's also like,
that's what made you.
Changed my life. Like, you know, it wasn't embarrassing. Yeah. That stuff was legendary. That's right. So,
okay, 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Give me a 60-second elevator pitch of why you should be picked to speak for any type of group because of the way, first of all, I'm saying because of the way you eloquently put your words together, the way that you know how to debate, bring facts on both sides. I want a 60-second elevator pitch on why you should be picked to speak at certain events.
I think that, of course, I already have a proven track record of being able to deliver a message in a way that resonates with people from all different backgrounds, all different experiences, ethnicities, quota, you know, or so to have you. I believe that for me, I would be the best messenger for different things because I understand layman's terms. Because again, as a national champion debater, it's like, excuse me, nationally ranked. I almost wish I was a champion. But anyway, but to be somebody like that and be able to make sure folks understand. I put a heavy emphasis on making sure people understand information, making sure they understand while at the same time being entertained. Because if you're monotoned, if you don't really know how to speak, if you're reading from your paper the entire time, you're not going to captivate an audience. You're not going to keep them informed. And honestly, when you're delivering the most important part of your, you know, informal speech or whatever it might be, folks are in their phones or dozing off or running to the bathroom, doing anything else. Why? Because you're boring. So boring is never a word anybody would ever use to describe me. So I can't think of anybody better than me to, you know, pipe your room or your event up.
I love it. Great. Editing team, make sure to put that in a 60-second clip so we can sell it to all of the amazing groups out there that would love to have Kayla come out and do a speech for them. I love it. Built by Becker. Phenomenal hour with you. Let's go get some lunch.
Let's go. Thank you for having me.
All right.